Republic of German ambassador visited Raila Odinga in his current residence hours after jetting back in the country from the United States of America tour. So what do you think is in store, or what was at the center of that? Because we've tried to just follow up and see what exactly is in Raila Odinga's diary. Welcome to the Bold Analysis. My name is Kevin Oduor. After that meeting, his secretariat have shared a glimpse of what was discussed. And I also saw a University of Nairobi law professor and a fellow analyst, Herman Menyora, was in that meeting. It's more of politics and peer catching up. The secretariat came out and shared some two messages with the public after that meeting. The first message is, Raila Odinga asked the Germany to avoid cautious approach towards their plan to invest in Kenya. I want to break down, to unpack that message. Cautious approach, if just layman understanding, is they've always profiled Kenya to some extent as not safe and not the best for investment. And in clear terms, speaking about political instability. So this is not a matter of maybe Germany, but Europe, in terms of how they deal with the country, how they deal with Kenya. They take keen interest by the fact that they are comfortable to invest back in Kenya only when it's safe, sound, sober, and peaceful. And what the message that Raila was sending here is that Kenya is peaceful. And indeed, Kenya is peaceful. This attempt to portray opposition politics as just theatrics to destabilize the country, I think over time we've agreed that we must celebrate our restraint. As, if you allow me to say, we ingrained the culture of handshake, and we are reaping the fruits of that handshake. That was message number one. Number two, that Raila was asking the Europe, or rather Germany, to exploit their potential in Kenya, the investment potential in Kenya, instead of looking Asia. That instead of heading Asia, they should actually invest in Kenya. And I have seen people who are reacting to those two messages saying, praising Raila, that is what Raila should be talking about. You know, sometimes criticism of the administration of the day, at some point normally misconstructed or misunderstood as if negatively selling the government. But to people who are really pro-Kenya Kwanza, they see Raila's statement as one that is now coming to endorse or rather support the government of the day. You know, people are used to combative approach in politics. These two messages are the first messages that are coming out, and I've picked them because I can tell you that that meeting lasted for long. And as someone who has been to communication, I've worked in corporate communication desks for long. I know that you get the brief and you choose what to say. You can't come and copy paste everything that was discussed. In fact, no one is going to give you the diary of the big boss. Kwamba you choose this or discussed. Someone just come and tell you, now from this meeting, apart from reporting this is what you guys are supposed to say. Or even if you're doing the press release to the media, what you're going to say about that meeting. So they chose those two messages to tell the Kenyan public. Because the reason why you can't take them lightly is the country have been asking, where is Raila, about his quiet return and what is in it after the US meeting. Kenyans have been asking with really anxiety to know what exactly Raila is going to say, because the American tour, he was supposed to be in the country to hold a parallel Jamhuri Day event, and it was cancelled last minute. Something I do believe it was never cancelled last minute. Everything was planned that way, to happen that way. It was choreographed. So after that, he went and he said he was called by Biden. There was intention of saying he was called by Biden because the political operatives within the country had already crafted a narrative that anaogopa. So we have been asking what exactly was from the America, while I've seen some other politicians, I don't know how to describe them, have been limiting it to photos. Where are your photos? So me, I can make, if you look at the tone of that message, Raila is very cautious of the combative opposition politics. And there was a bit of a divide. There was sharp division between analysts are wondering whether the route of going to the consultative forums to the people, that taking that route was going to be the best one to put William Ruto government into check, or that was the way for himself to revive his politics for his own rebirth. Of course, this is a delicate balance that Raila have had for some time. At the same time, he's also enjoying a very good cordial relationship with former President Uhuru Kenyatta, a relationship that was really ingrained in a handshake arrangement. And of course, someone who is associating with the president will not want to be engaged, to be that negative aspect, because to some extent that could also spoil or rather finish his relationship with Uhuru Kenyatta. Now that Uhuru Kenyatta left after leaving government, is now going to be a peace envoy. So on the other end, you are leading peace talks in DRC, but a close friend of yours here in Kenya is also leading protests in the street. So it was a bit of that delicate balance. So on this, I want to make a very clear observation here. From what I see, Raila, I think, have dropped that combative aspect. And the next phase of, I know now things are just going to pick up next year. From next year, we might see a different approach. Why he has to change, maybe has changed the strategy is, I don't know though I analyzed it in my video then, but I said, when Raila called for consultative forums, it was first to know what are the people saying, what exactly is on ground, to know what exactly the ground is. But politicians within Kenya Kwanza successfully crafted a narrative around Mandamano to profile those meetings as Mandamano. The strategy was saying that Raila is taking people to Mandamano, and so because of that, it's going to cause business disruption in the CBD, na vitu zinaenda kuharibiwa. And it was being used to create, or rather to portray Raila as enemy of the mountain, with political operatives within Kenya Kwanza. And I remember, I think a friend of mine telling me that, Kevin, I have a fear that Raila might lose the percentage of people that supported him in Mount Kenya, because what Uhuru told them was that whatever those things they had said about Raila were not true. And so when you see that rebirth of that character, of that politics, then seems the trust that had been built on him, is changing. And if you want to know that this is the truth, I remember Ricky G speaking in Meru saying, Uhuru told them Raila has changed. That's not the Raila they know. But they kept on telling Uhuru, you are lying, that's not it. So you can see that there have been a consistent strategy or a consistent messaging pattern to push Raila ahead further, so that that will be the status of how our politics is going to be driven. And you might have realized this is because even Mount Kenya Foundation and Uhuru Kenyatta's schoolboys are not really are cagey about that. It's true. The likes of former cabinet ministers that worked with Uhuru Kenyatta, the Kimemia, the governor then, the governor Nyandarua, um, even Murathes cannot go to the road. So it was also going to cut out an image of a man who is isolated and might have realized, okay, let me put it at hold. Secondly, and this is something I'll look at in some other analysis, maybe tomorrow, there was a meeting between Raila and Ruto. There was that meeting, yes. And those people who are asking us about photos are simply trying to create a perception in the public that one, Raila was not in US. That's what they want to say. But I analyzed, I fact checked here that Raila was in US. So they want to create that perception that Raila was not in US, so that they limit any chances of Raila close to Ruto. I've always said that if you support the peace, unity, and development of this country, then you should not feel agitated that Raila can talk with Ruto. This is possible. This is politics, and that's to some extent why Gachagua looks hungry. I'll analyze that maybe some other analysis. Um, the media had pushed a narrative that the street, or rather the consultative forums, were going to break or make Raila. So, and of course, you can look. Political operatives had started telling the public that the turnout in Kamkunji was low, or some other leaders were skipping, and it's true. I was there. Some leaders, really, even within Azimio ranks, some ranking members skipped it. I don't know they skipped or they were just absent, but that be it. So the conversation of that aspect going to break him or not make or break him could have really also informed the decision by his advisors and handlers to pull it. I remember Pierre Lumumba saying that Raila should not exhaust his arsenals, his guns, that even if it's going to the street, it will come to the last. And I agree that, of course, we can still have a specific some arrangement and try to use other fronts, so that when you will finally even now say, okay, we have now to come out, it will be like Kenyans are now gotten, like things are not changing, things are immovable, and on that they can then move. Raila may take a tactical retreat to see what Kalonzo's and Karua's might do. I have a feeling that he's taking that tactical retreat. He might take, and because if Kalonzo's were a bit serious and really honest about this thing, then they would have moved on. I don't know. They can't call a press conference and talk. Like Kawira's issue now is going on. Kalonzo is there. Martha Karua is a woman leader. They're not talking about. They're not even making any comment about Kawira's issue. So they need to, and Raila might do that. So on this front, there is tactical retreat is also maybe giving time for backroom negotiations towards the creation of that opposition leader office. Let me tell you, that office is, for me, if you ask me, I think it's important for Raila. Raila needs to also, it will help to institutionalize many other, maybe many activities that Raila Odinga is doing. Otherwise, without that, they're just seen as hearsays. And with that office comes with a lot of privileges. As much as it's also a trap, but it comes with some privileges, because even media, when they go to parliament, wakishapata kitu parliament, una rush to the office of the opposition, you get a comment on this. And with that, I can tell you that we'll have a 360 round approach in terms of how even the decision or ambition to put government in check is well executed. That's the end of my take. I don't know what you think between that meeting between Raila and the German ambassador.